Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in this new hangout about Argentina and Uruguay. This time we have some really nice guests here that are going to talk with us about the ecosystem in Argentina and Uruguay. In specific, we had some troubles connecting, so sorry we are a little bit late as expected, but we have Lisa Besserman from Startup Buenos Aires and Cyril Luis from NXTP Labs, and they are going to talk with us. In the meantime, we are presenting all this webinar about Argentina and Uruguay. This month, Argentina and Uruguay are in the spotlight, and we are preparing different activities during this month to actually show and highlight the ecosystem in Argentina and Uruguay. And one of those activities that are finishing up today with webinar will be a meetup here in Toronto with some of the community from Argentina and Uruguay. So if you would like to be part of that, will be just great. And the second thing we are going to have is actually a white paper that is going to allow us to show some of the insights of the Argentinian and Uruguayan startup ecosystem. So that will allow you to get some information, not just about the webinars, but also some numbers, internet penetration in those two countries, and some other information about the booming up startup ecosystem. What are the sectors that are actually booming at this point? If you have any questions, please send us an email to contact@latamstartups.biz or to the hashtag LatamStartups. So right now, we would like to start with some questions, and we are going to start with Lisa. Lisa is right now based, are you based in New York or in Buenos Aires? Because you travel a lot, right, Lisa?
Yes, so I'm based in Buenos Aires, but I like to avoid the winter, so I spend the South American winter in New York for the North American summer.
That's fantastic. That's really great. So, okay, you're right now in New York, and we have the first question while Cyril is joining us there. He's already there, by the way, for all the audience. He's just finishing up some things, and he's going to join us in a minute. So the first thing, it will be, how do you describe the startup ecosystem in Argentina? Because you have been in Argentina in specific. As having that from, sorry, 1 minute. Cyril, could you please mute the microphone while I pass the question?
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you for joining us today. So, yeah, Lisa, so this vision from Argentina will be very good from your side because you are an international person. You are not from Argentina, you are from US. So how do you describe this startup ecosystem there?
Well, right now I would definitely use the word transitional to describe the Argentine ecosystem. When I arrived in 2012, I would say it was a bit of a nascent ecosystem in the sense that there was a lot of potential. There was a lot of really high quality and talented entrepreneurs, lots of really great startup activity and energy, but it was a very fragmented space, and there really wasn't much of a support system. NXTP Labs was very new at the time. Startup Buenos Aires hadn't even existed. The government wasn't really doing anything at that time. So, back in 2012, it was a much different world than it is today. And today we're starting to see so many advancements come out of Argentina. It is home to some of the most resilient and greatest entrepreneurs I've ever seen in my life. So, with the human capital alone, it makes a really wonderful place and a very strong ecosystem. But now we're starting to see programs take form and mature a bit to provide a lot more support and a lot more opportunities for Argentina. Not only within the Argentina borders, but also within Latin America, and building bridges between the U.S. and different startup ecosystems around the world to bring, a lot more opportunities to Argentina. So, right now I'd say we're in a transitional stage. We're definitely growing. We're definitely maturing. There's just a lot of potential in the Argentina region, mostly because of that human capital. But now, with the new government, there's been a lot more national programs that are taking form. An accelerator program that started on a city level that was about $3.5 million they created last year. And it was based on the Startup Nations model. So they actually invested in existing investment models, knowing that they would do a better job. providing those investments to the startups than the government would per se. And then now it's going on a national level, and they're actually going to be investing about 15 million US dollars into startups and entrepreneurial programs. So there's just been a lot of changes within Argentina over these past few years, but also on a community level, it's really matured, and I think we're really starting to reach the potential that Argentina has to become a world player, in regards to global startup ecosystems.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was really helpful to know that the Argentinian ecosystem is in this transitional time, and to see all those great things happening already. Ciro, if you're there, I would like to have your perspective from the startup ecosystem in Argentina. NXTP Labs is one of the accelerators that is very well recognized in the industry in many countries in Latin America as a very, very good accelerator. I would like to know, what is your feeling about the startup ecosystem right now in Argentina and Uruguay, if you have some insights about that country?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, by the way, for holding up for the lateness. I'm sorry for being a few minutes late, and thank you for hosting this session, because I think it's really helpful for the rest of the world to learn of different ecosystems. Picking up on what Lisa said, I think her overview was quite precise on saying how much human capital there is in Argentina specifically, and where the government, the entrepreneurs here are super creative, and the human capital is there because they have had to hold up with their own means, and I think that's gives the human capital an edge. However, now with different government programs that the city of Buenos Aires has had, where we are one of the accelerators that transfers their capital to entrepreneurs locally, and potentially if in the new national program we could do the same. I think are really good incentives to consolidate the ecosystem into something much larger. And they have been emulating what Chile has done with through Corfo, and Mexico through INADEM, and I think it's not only something that is happening locally, but that they're connecting region-wide through entrepreneurs that have already constructed those bridges. And respecting Uruguay has also some programs. I think most of their ecosystem is based in the public support, which is kind of the opposite of Argentina, and their market is small. However, there are some interesting entrepreneurs and projects that come out of it, and that are regionally known, right? Pedidos Ya is an example of that, and we are. I don't know. Our HQ is in Buenos Aires, but we are regionally based. We have partners in Brazil and Mexico, offices in Chile, and a country manager in Colombia, and also build the link to the US. And part of the largest challenge that we find for entrepreneurs at the moment is finding pre-Series A capital that would let consolidated projects and startups to build great companies. And I think that's the next challenge for entrepreneurs in the region.
Thank you, Ciro, for covering up all that. It's really exciting what is happening right now in Argentina, because Argentina had already a really, really amazing talent and amazing startups. So with a little bit of help of the government and some other firms, as NXTP Labs and some other accelerators in the market, we believe that this is one of the ecosystems that is going to raise up really, really fast, as the others have done in the past years. So the next question, and I will start with Ciro, will be regarding angel investment. And how do you compare angel investment in Argentina and Uruguay with other organizations in the region in North America? What are the main differences and similitudes?
I think angel investors generally join, start learning of best practices through accelerators as well, by co-investing with more sophisticated investors and learning how startups that need scalability need to raise more than just one round, and so leave more space for future investors, so the entrepreneurs have enough incentive to stay in the company after a Series A round, for example. And I think there's still a long road to evangelize angel investors in this case. I think Mexico is one of the most advanced ecosystems in that sense, and there have been some organizations, distinguished organizations in Chile and Argentina that started spreading best practices about angel investing and how to what documents are to be used, and what terms are the best, most entrepreneur friendly to be used. But for example, we're doing a program specified in AgTech at the moment, and the angel investment network in AgTech is now it's very poor. There are a few investors that have co-invested with us in some startups that are related to the sector, but most of investors that could be injecting small amounts of capital into startups are not doing so because they don't know what documents to use. They don't know the concepts of scalable startups that could grow from one region to the other, and they need these role models or success cases to follow suit. And I think accelerators play a big role in building that bridge and showing that concept works, and showing that concept is financially viable.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ciro, about that. And now, Lisa, would you like to add something about angel investment in compared with North America and the other countries?
Sure. I mean, I think in general, investment in Argentina and in Uruguay as well is lacking. It's, historically, it's been, at least Argentina, it's been a risky place to invest in because of all the macroeconomic issues, the political instability, issues with currency and transparency. So, it has been a very risky place to invest in. Not the people, not the startups, but just the issues surrounding the country's history. And that translates to angel investment. That translates to lack of venture capital as well. So I think there's definitely a lacking of funds in the region, and it's actually created a trend, which I'm still not sure if it's a good trend or a bad trend, but it's created this exportation of talent, where entrepreneurs grow, or they scale as much as they possibly can within the borders of Argentina, raising their pre-seed or seed funding, and then when it's time to raise a substantially larger amount of money, they leave. They go to Silicon Valley, they go to New York, they go to Berlin. So we're seeing these really great entrepreneurs leave Argentina to go raise the funds to bring that money back to Argentina. So in a sense, it's not a terrible thing, because we are spreading out that entrepreneurial talent around the world, so the rest of the world can recognize who these Argentine entrepreneurs are. And in a sense, it's good that they're actually bringing the money back in Argentina, because as maybe we'll touch upon later, the labor and the tech force in Argentina is very high quality at a very low cost. So we're actually getting a lot of outsourcing and offshoring requests from companies all around the world looking to set up teams in Argentina. So I think just in general, there is an absolute lack of funding and lack of money available to these startups. And another thing that I found that was a bit surprising is, entrepreneurs in Argentina are risky. They, as Ciro touched upon, they have never had that security net. They've never had the support of the government. They've always had to kind of be resilient and scrappy and, work on their own to create their own success, which, of course, has created this incredible class of entrepreneurs. That being said, you see such a risky brand of entrepreneurs in the nation, but when it comes to investment, they're actually very risk averse. So we see, risk-averse investors that are either investing outside of the region or not really putting much into the region because they're afraid of, what could potentially happen, outside of their control. And there's a lot of also family offices, and they have a lot of money in investment as well, but they are very risk-averse, and they usually invest in, in real estate and other more stable methods rather than startups. So I think it's a matter of educating these investors to say, hey, you're already investing. Let's try to invest in something that you can have potentially much higher reward, but it also is a little bit risky. So it's a little bit of everything. But I think that there is absolutely a lack of investment vehicles and opportunities in the region. But I do think now with the government transition and the economic transition that we're going to start seeing a much bigger interest in the region and a lot more money coming into Argentina and Argentine startups.
So just to clarify there, I think maybe the word is not correct in saying that entrepreneurs are risky, but they're more risk prone, or they take more risks, right? Rather than they're risky themselves. And I think one of the bigger challenges in turning traditional capital investors into angel investors in some way is seeing startups as a way to diversify through fast internationalizing models that can not only depend on the Argentine market, but can also spread to the Chilean, Brazilian, Uruguayan, and Mexican market in 6 to 8 months. Which other models, like the real estate one, is more prone to the local political risk.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that clarification, Shreya, and very good insights, Elisa. So the next question will be about what kind of solutions are right now producing Argentina and Uruguayan startups. So I will start with Lisa, because we know that there are certain sectors in Argentina that are booming up. How you have seen that? What kind of startups are producing at this point, Argentina?
As I touched upon a few minutes ago, I think the IT sector is absolutely the one with the highest potential, and the one that's growing at the fastest rate. There's a lot of programs within universities, within even high schools, to promote coding and programming. So we're starting to see a really big tech boom in the IT sectors. Lots of really high talent in development and design as well. Mobile app development is huge, web development is huge. So there's just this really strong concentration of development agencies happening in Argentina. So that IT sector is really growing. Other sectors that are growing, we're seeing e-commerce, we're seeing ed tech, fintech is really big, and I know NXDP Labs is doing a big push on fintech. They just had, I believe you guys just had a cohort focused on fintech, but you can touch upon that later. Of course, technology is always the biggest, but I'd say IT development is probably the strongest suit that Argentina has. In fact, it's actually creating this trend in offshoring, where, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of companies that are looking to hire dedicated IT teams in Argentina, or outsource mobile app development, web development projects in Argentina, because the talent is just so high. And the cost of labor is quite low. Of course, technology is number one, and then we're seeing ed tech, fintech, and e-commerce. I think those are like the biggest trends focused on the region. And I'll let Ciro, add upon that.
Sure. Ciro, you guys just mentioned it about the agricultural technology and the fund that you guys are putting together to actually help those entrepreneurs in that area. That's another specific sector that also is growing up. So could you please tell me, from your perspective from NXDP Labs, what kind of entrepreneurs do you see that are booming up, and what sectors?
Yes, as Lisa mentioned, I think I agree that IT development is a big pusher into attracting more human capital into tech. But then we see that, well, mainly entrepreneurs see the opportunity. We have seen the opportunity in fintech, for example, where we're doing a regional program. We did a first program in fintech last year, and this year we're doing a bigger program, not only in Argentina, but also in Chile, Mexico, and Colombia, selecting 50 startups in total to get them near the corporate sector. Part of the gap that we're seeing in venture capital, I think, could be potentially covered by a partnership with the corporate sector and allowing them or facilitating corporate ventures grown locally. So part of what happened in last year's fintech program is that we helped create a sidecar fund dedicated to fintech by a local bank, a local Argentine bank that seeks to compete with the bigger banks in Argentina by incorporating technology, and they're one of the first ones that have developed their own APIs to do so. So we're seeing that partnering with corporations looking for innovation can be one of those bridges to covering the lack of VC activity in the region, and it can also be more healthy to the sector, because startups don't grow up through simple venture capitalists, and so are more prone to be cooperative with the incumbents, and so I don't know, you don't have a Stripe or an Uber style banking system where the startup will compete necessarily with a bank, but maybe a startup backed by a sector, a couple of banks that will complement them in innovation, right? So I think that's part of the trend that we're seeing, and it's part of the trend that we're also seeing in other sectors where financial innovation is very far behind. And I think in Argentina, the next few years will be a huge leap forward. And we're seeing that in agriculture as well. So we're doing this first program in agriculture in Argentina and Uruguay. We're selected already 15 startups from both countries to get them close to corporations in the agriculture sector, as well as big farmers or big farming companies. And we think that there's a big interest in creating a similar sidecar fund between these farming corporations and local farm companies that not only want to complement their business, but also be part financially of the growth of these startups that they see will definitely create an impact in the sector in the short term.
Sounds perfect. Thank you so much, Zero. So the next question is about what is Argentina adding to the region in terms of, what is the main feature that you will see? This is something that Argentina is really putting together in this formula that is Latin America. Before we had the webinar with Mexico and with Chile and Colombia and Peru, and they were adding different things. Like Mexico is kind of like at the bridge, and Colombia said it's the talent. We know in Argentina is a high quality talent, and we have startups that they have really good level of English, for example, is one of the best in Latin America. But what is that thing that you will say this is the word that we'll see that is actually the feature of Argentina for what is adding something to the startup ecosystem in Latin America? And I will start with Zero.
Super difficult question. I think it's always difficult to generalize. But if I have to say something, I think the determination of the entrepreneurs is something that distinguishes them from the rest. And maybe another feature would be that because the financial sector has been guarded from the rest of the internationally by kind of government regulations, I think there's going to be a huge change in how banks start differentiating themselves from each other, and there's a huge chance for startups that will manage to capture that. I think in that sense, the banking sector is up for a big change locally. But I think in many senses, in a sense, they're kind of catching up to startups in Mexico and Colombia, or the financial sector in Mexico and Colombia is a bit more advanced in that sense. and respecting the differential. Well, and I think, well, in agriculture, there's Argentina has always been, it has always been one of the main activities, and the U.S. has had a peak in VC investments in agriculture in the last year, and we see that trend continuing. And these VC funds need more deal flow, and Argentina and Brazil and Uruguay are big, and potentially Chile as well, in kind of intensive agriculture technologies, are key markets for the VCs to start exploring, not only through new investments, but also by building a network for their portfolio right now that seeks to expand to the region as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ciro. So, Lisa, what do you think that is that feature that is the main characteristic of Argentina?
Yeah, as Ciro eloquently said, there's really not one thing that you can say is just, you know, the most amazing thing about Argentina, or, you know, the thing that they're going to add to the world. What really I think it comes down to is just the entire entrepreneurial DNA of Argentines. They're born and bred with this DNA that I've never seen anywhere in the world. And I'm from New York. I lived in Japan. You know, I've been to quite a few different ecosystems, and I've never seen this class of entrepreneurship that I have seen in Argentina. And, you know, despite all of the challenges that these Argentines have historically faced over the years, they've always come out on top, and they've always created, you know, this very creative way of following their dreams and, you know, becoming successful entrepreneurs. So I think, you know, it's just about their DNA. It's like, you know, Argentines have this way of looking outside of the box, because the box has never served them. You know, the box has never created a structure for them to grow in. So they've all grown outside of that box. And, you know, decades and decades of that, it creates this just really resilient and high-bred class of entrepreneurship that you don't see anywhere else in the world. And so I think it's just really having that DNA of the Argentines that are just so strong and smart and crafty. You know, I think that the way that they look at things, they don't look at the status quo and continue with it. They look at the status quo and say, how can I make this different? How can I make this better? How can I serve this many people changing this thing or this product or this service? And, you know, one thing that we're starting to see, this really big trend of Argentines, is in IoT, the Internet of Things. So we're starting to see all of these smart products, like brilliant smart products. You're like, why hasn't that been smart? Or why hasn't there been a disruption in that specific industry for all these years? And that is actually being disrupted by Argentines. You know, we're starting to see, you know, Blue Smart, the, you know, smart luggage. They raised $20 million. They're a group of Argentines. You know, they're disrupting the luggage industry. You know, there's been new Kickstarter campaigns with smart bicycles. That's a, you know, G-Fly bike. That's another Argentine. Smart strollers, baby strollers. That's another Argentine. So we're seeing all of these IoT products come out of these like Argentine minds. So I really think it just comes down to the creativity and the resilience that is embedded in the DNA of Argentines that is really going to, you know, put Argentina on the map and grow these products to become global and scalable startups around the world.
That's fantastic. I cannot agree more with you guys. Yes, Ciro, go ahead.
Sorry, just to add to that, I think that, yeah, that metaphor of thinking out of the box is perfect, because people here think of competition worldwide, right? They look at the competition, their market is worldwide, and so the competition is worldwide. So they're not looking at the niche, the local competitors, but also always seeing beyond that into what's going on in the world, and what are the new innovations that will change the local context, and or not only the local context, but the opportunities that they can find creating technology here and maybe selling it in Brazil, or moving to some other country and growing it there. And so I think that in thinking, having that global entrepreneurial mind, and thinking that competition is always global is a great trait.
Yeah, and to add to what Ciro just said, which is absolutely accurate, you know, most of the startups we work with have global ambitions. We're not looking at startups who want to just serve the Argentine market. You know, in other parts of the region like Brazil and Mexico, they can focus on that market because it's large enough to sustain scalability, or that's just how they think. And, you know, it's it's sufficient. But Argentines, they understand and they recognize that if they want to scale, they have to think global or regional at the very least. So, we're seeing these startups that don't plan on just staying within the borders of Argentina. They are thinking globally, and so all of their goals are based on scaling on an international level, which, I think is, absolutely brilliant, and it's a great way to create, this competition not only within Argentina but all around the world. And I think that's also the exportation of talent, in a sense, where it's exporting the ideas and the products and the services that are born in Argentina to create just a better, more connected world.
Perfect. That all, I think we all agree on that, and that's very true. The Argentinians have something special in their DNA that really becomes really good entrepreneurs, is what we have seen in the last years as well. But now we would like to focus as well in the international startups that can see Argentina as a place for them to either start up or testing up their products and services. For example, we had Kyle that unfortunately he couldn't be there today here because he had an emergency, so I'm covering up here. But he's one of the people from, he has different backgrounds, and he's living right now in Canada, but he's looking forward to go to Argentina. So and yesterday we had another LATAM 101 here. That is an initiative that is supported by Startup Canada and EDC. Where we talk about Latin America and the advantages. There we have another startup in fintech, especially developing Bitcoin. That he was some solution in Bitcoin, and he was also asking us, what kind of advantages they have if they go to markets to Argentina. So in the international perspective, why a international startup should go to Argentina or Uruguay? And I will start with Lisa.
Sure. So I've actually given this interview on quite a few different media outlets about why Argentina, what is the selling point of Argentina, and it's not one thing. It's it's everything mixed into one. Argentina, specifically Buenos Aires, that's what I can speak with, is just it's a metropolis. It's an amazing city. It has this really interesting culture where it's part European, part Latin America. So it just has just a mixture, a melting pot of different cultures and different people. It's a very social place. It's very easy to make friends. It's very easy to penetrate the market. It's a very, very low cost of living, comparatively speaking, to other parts of the world. So what we actually see is a lot of bootstrap startups who come down to Argentina because they need to save money and they want to have a good time and they want to have a strong workforce. And as I mentioned, and I will continue to mention, is Argentina has a very, very strong labor force in IT. And IT, globally speaking, is a very expensive investment. So, having employees in San Francisco or in New York or anywhere really in the U.S. or in Europe, it's very expensive and challenging to have your developmental costs taken care of in those places. So a lot of the benefits of moving to Argentina is just a wonderful lifestyle. It's I know it has a very strong expat community. A lot of people come down. It's a warm culture. There's great food, great wine, low cost of living, high labor force, strong startup community. So all of those lifestyle factors I think are really important to recognize. But also, in a market sense, Argentines are early adopters. There's a high level of mobile, mobile phone usage, mobile purchasing. So when it comes to finding your next market, Argentines are very open to accept, early adopt, new services or products that make their lives easier. When Uber came, they had, a huge market penetration in a matter of weeks. So, it's things like that. It's all of these factors combined, the mix with the lifestyle, the mix with the labor force, the mix with the low cost of living, and the mix with the, penetration of market. I think all of those places make a really wonderful place to set up operations or to start your company or to even grow your company. And in the past, the government has never helped that. If anything, they've always hindered that because it has been historically challenging to start a company in Argentina. It's been a long and arduous process that a lot of people don't even want to deal with. But now the government is, following the Chilean model where you can, set up a company in 24 hours or in 1 week, whereas in the past it's taken months. So now with the government finally getting on board to the speed that these startups generally work in, it's creating a much better environment, to set up operations to grow your company, in addition to all of the great lifestyle benefits that being in Argentina has to offer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lisa. Now, Ciro, you guys receive many international setups. So, what is there for in Argentina for them? What Argentina can offer to them? And as well, if you have some insights about Uruguay, will be great.
Hmm. No, I was thinking about what Lisa was saying. I think one of the main differentials, and I think why maybe startups can see the region and maybe Argentina and Uruguay as a starting point. One of the focusing on human capital. I think comparing the Silicon Valley costs of starting a startup and, and and testing the market, I think Argentina has a pretty, or probably at least Buenos Aires as a cosmopolitan city, has a pretty real or comparable market to what other cities have in the world. And testing a startup and testing how a product or service, that minimum viable product, and iterating that until you find a market fit. Buenos Aires can be a great place to do so because it needs much less capital than other cities in the world need to get highly talented people to join the startup, and as well as to kind of in ad spending and other things where Silicon Valley has a bit of a too expensive a cost for startups here. And respecting Uruguay, there's a huge support and connection with high profile individuals and high profile agencies, local agencies that in a case, most of the I don't know, high profile individuals in local national agencies that can give you a boost to your startup. There's also very a very closed ecosystem, so it's there really is it's kind of like a friendship network that you can build in Uruguay in a matter of a few weeks, which is quite efficient for a startup that maybe to set up meetings and everything they take a much longer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ciro. So we are going to go with the last question because we have actually covered some other questions with the answers that you have given. Thank you so much for all of that. But the final question is about what is the best advice for those international startups going to Argentina? What is the things that they have to consider when they actually decide to go to Argentina and test their services and products, or whatever they are going to spend some time there? What would you advise with that? And Lisa, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. My best advice, and I've seen people, make mistakes in this sector or in this topic is just to go. You can do all the market research you want from your home country. You can crunch all the numbers, but none of that is going to mean anything if you're not there. So, my best advice is just to come down, check it out, meet with as many people as you can, and recognize that, in Latin America and specifically in Argentina, it's a very relationships-based society. So, when doing business and when growing your startup, it's really important that you get out and you interface with people, you meet the movers and shakers, you meet with the influencers, and you really take advantage of that personal network that you can grow only by being in that place. So, it's really important that you just come down, you see how things are done, because, you can read about anything online, but once you're actually there, it's a much different vehicle. And of course, get involved with the local community, get involved with NXTP, get involved with Startup Buenos Aires, get involved with Huayra. There's a lot of entrepreneurial groups that, that focus on, meetups and building these relationships and, finding these partnerships, and I think that Buenos Aires has a really great platform for doing that, as far as these different organizations that are facilitating these meetings and are facilitating collaboration, within the community. So, the most important thing is just to come down, come with an open mind, And it's really important to assimilate to the local culture, because if you try and do something based on the way you've always done it in your home country, it won't work. And that's just international business 101. So it's really coming down to see the country, to recognize the culture, to learn how business is done here, because it's done in a much different level than it is in the U.S. or in Canada or in Europe. It's just a much different environment. And once you're able to assimilate with that local environment, but also keep that efficiency or keep whatever qualities that you have as being an entrepreneur internationally, I think that's really important. And a lot of people think it's daunting or it's overwhelming going to a new country to start a new business. But the great thing about Argentina is that it's a very open culture, and you're welcomed. So being a foreigner, especially myself, I built a company, and it's a community-driven company. So I couldn't. Startup Buenos Aires wouldn't exist if the community didn't get behind the mission. And I thought, being a foreigner arriving in a foreign country, people wouldn't trust me, or they wouldn't want to work with me. I didn't know the language at the time, and I didn't know anybody, I didn't have any contacts, but I came down there with an open mind, and I came down there ready to meet as many people as possible to grow this vision I had. And really the success factor is meeting those people and creating those relationships, and none of that is possible if you're not here and you're not getting out there and growing your vision or growing your mission and meeting with as many influencers and community members as possible. So really it's just to focus on building those relationships and coming down there and actually building that. And that can't happen online, and it's not going to happen with any metrics. So you just got to come down and see for yourself. And it might not be right for you. It might not be the right place, and in which case you find somewhere else, but you're never going to learn that unless you come and you see what Buenos Aires and what Argentina has to offer. And I think it's a lot. There's a lot of benefits of coming down there. And I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm what I would call an accidental entrepreneur. That was never in my cards. I never expected to be one. I never wanted to be one. But I went down to Argentina and I saw a problem, and I was crazy enough to think I had the solution. And I guess some of that entrepreneurial DNA rubbed off on me being around those people, and I was inspired to become an entrepreneur. So you never know what inspiration will hit you when you're down there. And it's just a special place, and it's something you can't really explain, in a 40-minute webinar. It's something you have to go and see for yourself. And I guarantee that there's enough community, there's enough networks that you'll have a great time and you'll be able to grow whatever it is you need to grow. And now there's a lot more resources. So we're at a much better place now than we were a few years ago, and it's going to only get stronger. So definitely take advantage of being a part of this really wonderful community and great network.
Thank you, Lisa. That was really, really good. And Ciro, I would like to hear your opinion. What is your advice for those international startups that are going there for the first time?
Yeah, as Lisa mentioned, is connecting with the key players in the ecosystem that will open doors for you, that are already into this startup culture of sharing and sharing ideas and sharing new developments in the area, and sharing contacts that may serve the purpose of other companies without asking for anything in exchange. And I think, well, having in mind as well the human capital in the region is taking advantage of that, right? And maybe if one is going to look at the Argentine market, is taking into high regard what are the bureaucratic timings for setting up a company, which are not the same as in other countries. Maybe it could take over a month to set up a company, which is something that we've been working on facilitating. But I think these contacts are key, are all the more key for an entrepreneur that comes here to learn the local context and skip learning curves that without a local partner those things can be costly, right?
Perfect, thank you, Ciro. And this is something really in common with the other webinars. Normally we have this kind of advice: just come here, come there, go there. and try to meet the ecosystem and try to meet the people, because really in Latin America in general it's about relationships and it's about connections. To get all that in place, it takes time, and but it does have a high return as well when you go there and you actually see the people and you meet with them and you see what is the necessity and how you can contribute to the ecosystem. So we are now going to open 2 questions here to the webinar. And for those that are watching right now the webinars through YouTube, that is the mainly audience actually is through YouTube. So just go ahead and send us the questions through contact@latamstartups.biz or to the hashtag LatamStartups. But we already have 2 questions. We may have a third one because we have like just a little space there with time. So the first question is from Andrew from London, Ontario, and he would like to ask, what is the main benefit to be in Buenos Aires when the government is still in the process to fix the ecosystem in Argentina? Will I expect to go next year, or will I go right now? So I guess the main question there is if you will advise a startup to just wait for next year and see how things are going, or just go right now and try to do something at this point. Who likes to answer? Lisa. Yeah.
Well, I would say, I mean, obviously, if we're talking about startups go in warped speed. So go right now. I mean, you know, there's also the first movers advantage that you'll have. You know, like I and I think a lot of people in Argentina right now feel as if the rest of the world has a spotlight in Argentina, kind of with one foot in, one foot out, waiting to see how these transitions take form. And if you are already there and you're already building your network, you're already growing your company, then you have an advantage over everybody else who's waiting to see what's going to happen over the next year. And anybody in Argentina will tell you the movements are all in the right direction right now. Everything is moving in the correct direction. And if you're positioning yourself to be there before those moves completely mature, then you're going to be in a really good position to grow a lot faster than anybody else who's waiting. So I would say just go. At the very least, you'll have an amazing time. You'll meet some great people, and you'll definitely learn a lot. So, of course, I say go for it.
Sounds good. Now it's a good time, I believe, because it's you know, summer is getting here, is getting there soon. So after August, September, then you have a good time to go. Especially here in Canada, it gets really cool.
Well, also one thing to mention is, as you mentioned with months and winter and coldness, it's of course if you're based in Canada, then I definitely recommend to leave during the Canadian winter and come down during the summer. But there's actually a lot of international events happening in Argentina over the next 6 months, so that'll really give you a great platform to meet people and to kind of understand the ecosystem a little. We have Global Entrepreneurship Weekend happen, we have Startup Week happening, we have We Exchange. Week of the Entrepreneur. There's just so many startup and entrepreneurial focused events happening, and it's bilingual as well. There's plenty of bilingual events, so if you're not confident in your Spanish, you'll meet plenty of people who speak English. And the campus party is happening as well. So there's just over the next 6 months or so, there's going to be a plethora of opportunities and activities for you to really connect with the community. So I definitely recommend going.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So the next question, if Ciro doesn't want to add something to that, the next question is...
I'll simply add, I agree that there's most of the big events are at the end of the year, or by the end of the year, but also it depends on the industry where you're at. If you're real estate or probably fintech, there's a big chance to innovate if you come now. Also take into high regard what startups are moving, are already here, so that you don't duplicate efforts, or you don't land in Argentina without taking into account which ones are already marking the ground. And I think maybe other industries like e-commerce will be suffering a bit of a flat line the next few months because of inflation rates and high costs for local individuals to keep on purchasing for the consumer economy. So maybe that might take a few more months for traction, but maybe it's a good idea to to land here beforehand in some of these big events, and then deploy in the next year.
And also, in addition to something that Ciro touched upon, we're not only talking startups that are, interested in Argentina. We're talking big companies that are already starting to make movements to come to Argentina. So, Uber had just arrived, a few short months ago. We recently spoke with PayPal and eBay and all of these places who have never had I wouldn't say they never had an interest in Argentina, but they never had operations or potential to be in Argentina. Now they are, these big corporations are, making movements to set up operations in Argentina. Facebook is there, Google is there. So, it's not just the startups that are interested in the region, it's also these really big corporations that recognize the potential of the region and that recognize that things are changing and they want to be there, as soon as possible to take advantage of these changes.
Thank you, Lisa. So, Andrea, just go now when you can. So, especially now in winter. The next question is from Dan. I think he's located here in Ontario as well. And he says, I'm building a solution in fintech, and I like to go to Argentina. I love the market. I would like to work in a co-working space. Do you recommend any co-working space in Buenos Aires, and how much it costs?
Also, I'd be happy at the end of this to provide my email address if anybody has any other questions that they want to, dig deeper into. But as far as co-working spaces, Area 3 is one of the biggest ones. They're a partner of ours, and they're actually currently building the largest co-working space in Latin America. So they have really great state-of-the-art facilities, really huge spaces, and they create a community within the co-working space, which is really fantastic. So I recommend Area 3, and then there's also another one called Urban Station, which is more of like a pay per day. So if you don't know how long you want to be somewhere, or you don't want to commit to a monthly membership, there's that. And then there's another one called La Macanita. And these are all really great co-working spaces, and there's a whole list. I'd be happy to provide a list. And the prices vary. I'd say on average you're going to pay about $250 a month for a desk, and upwards a little bit higher for a dedicated office room. So I'd say you're looking to pay between like $200 and $300 a month for the office desk space.
Very nice price. Ciro, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I actually have no idea about co-working space prices, so thank you, Lisa, for that addition. No, I think those are mainly the main spaces that we have taken into account, and our co-working space, we offer it only for startups participating in the program, so not much more.
Okay, just this question, Ciro. You guys are receiving also international startups from North America. Do you make calls normally, or how it works if a startup wants to be part of NFT Labs?
So we accept startups no matter what nation they come from. Our call for Argentina has already finished. Same as in Chile as well, and Colombia is. We're defining the last few candidates. We're still open for some candidates in Mexico in the fintech space. So if anybody's going to Mexico in the next, or is growing the startup, their fintech, ping me and we might offer support.
Thank you so much, Ciro. And talking about Mexico, just remember we have our big, our annual event in Mexico this year, and Lisa is actually going to be there. She's going to be presenting the Startup Buenos Aires there in Mexico. So we hope NXTP Labs also join us at some point, because we are going to be there in October after the Semana del Emprendedor. We're matching up with that. So, but this is a reminder also for those startups that are looking for fintech. We are going to have one section about fintech in our event in Mexico. The other section is about IoT and then energy, because those are the sectors that actually Mexico are developing really hard as well. So we hope to see you all in Mexico this year in October. But we would like right now to thank you, our two guests today that were joining us today. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for giving the right and amazing insights about Argentina and some about Uruguay. I personally live in Uruguay for a year in 2014, so I know these two markets are really, really amazing, and the talent is really amazing. So for those that still have some questions, just email us those questions. As Lisa says, she can answer some of those questions through her email. Cyril, I don't know if they would like to contact you. What is the best way to contact you?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I can share my email. How should I do it? Should I copy paste it into the chat, or I'll send it to you? You can share it to whomever asks.
Yeah, we just send that to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So for those that still have questions, just remember, send us the question. We have a third question here that we are going to send right now by email. So thank you so much for coming today, and wait for the white paper. We're going to have the white paper at the end of this month, and we hope all of you enjoy the questions and this webinar. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, thank you.